Hi, guys. Welcome to the Simple Doesn't Mean Easy podcast. We are here weekly, working at simplifying things in our lives one day at a time and one simple step at a time. And together, guys, we can do this. I'm your host, Michelle Visser. And for today's mini Friday episode, by the way, if you haven't caught on Monday, what we've been doing recently is Monday is a full episode and Friday is just a quick episode. I'm thinking that maybe it'd be fun to do some Friday favorites. That's what I'll do some Fridays is just share with you some of my favorite things. That's just something I've been thinking. I haven't really figured out what we're doing with the Fridays yet. I just knew I wanted to have little mini episodes sharing certain things in a little more depth than I can over on Instagram or in social media. So I don't know. Let me know if you guys have thoughts of what you'd like to see in these mini Friday episodes. But today, I am going to give you a quiz. So go ahead and pull out your pens and pencils. This is actually based on a blog post that I wrote many long years ago. And inside of that article, I have a little quiz. It says, "So you think you're ready to be a homesteader?" Grab a piece of paper, write down yes or no to each of these questions. After you have answered all 8 of them, I'm going to give you the answers. Number 1. Can you handle the idea of being a 45-minute drive to town? Yes or no? Number 2, do you get upset by mud, mess, and creepy crawlies? Yes or no? Number 3, have you ever raised an animal as a source of food for your family? And do you know how to process an animal like a chicken, a rabbit, or a pig? Yes or no? Number 4, do you prefer working outside in any season over sitting behind a desk? Number 5, I hate, why did I change to the first person? This is how it was written. Okay, the rest of them are in first person. Number 5, yes or no? I hate book work. Things like keeping lists and inventory and budget information. I'd rather be working with my hands. Number 6, I can prioritize tasks pretty well. Number 7, I like being tired at the end of the day. And number 8, I'm a good long-term planner. Yes or no? Okay, so some of these are kind of trick questions in case you didn't realize. So I want you to give yourself 1 point for each one that matches these answers. Okay. So number 1, actually, you can give yourself a point no matter which you answered, yes or no. You may be surprised to know that contentment living far from civilization is not a requirement for homesteading. While many folks do get into self sufficiency because they want to escape suburbia and live off the land to one degree or another, there are even more folks who are learning to be self sufficient right where they are, even in the middle of the city. Now, for number 2, give yourself a point if you said no, because you are guaranteed you are going to run into a lot of mud, mess, and creepy crawlies if you decide to run a homestead. Whether or not it's a small suburban backyard or a 100-acre rural farm, you're going to run into those things. For number 3, you get a point no matter which way you answer that one as well, yes or no, because in some ways it will definitely be easier for you to jump into a traditional homesteading lifestyle if you're familiar with all the processes of butchering your own meat. But you can certainly be a homesteader and not even eat meat at all, although you would, of course, not really be the norm. You can also raise your animals and find a local resource for the processing. You can find friends who know how to do it, who will teach you. I will say the whole process was much easier for me to embrace than for Bill. And I credit that to the fact that, unlike Bill, I have a family heritage of farming and I grew up seeing these processes done. Bill didn't have that at all. So it definitely was easier for me in the long run. For number 4, you get a point if you said, yes, you prefer working outside in any season instead of being behind a desk. If you're leaving suburbia to start a farm, you need to be prepared to be outside in the elements in every season. In fact, we just brought home our pigs today and we're setting up what they needed and getting them set away. And it was raining and it wasn't an option. We couldn't leave the pigs sitting on the back of the truck. We had to be working in the rain. It was very muddy to the point that it was like a slip slide mud. And I almost fell like with my butt in the mud more than once. So you got to be okay with that. Number 5, you get a point for answering no. This question was a little tricky. Number 5 was asking if you hate bookwork. It's a little tricky, actually, but the point is, even if your passion is to be outside and working with your hands, you got to have a fair warning here, guys. Your homesteading efforts will never succeed if you're not being purposeful and you don't keep records and you don't budget your spending closely. So, sorry, guys, you need to do some of the bookwork. Number 6, you get a point for saying yes. This is an invaluable skill on a farm to be able to prioritize your tasks pretty well. No matter what the season, there's always something more important vying for your attention. If you don't prioritize well and often, there's going to be waste and loss, and you are going to be unprepared for something. And you're going to miss a small window of a time when it's time to breed an animal or when it's time to plant a certain crop. So you got to be able to do that. Number 7 was I like being tired at the end of the day. You get a point for saying yes to that for sure. If you enjoy the satisfaction that you have after a hard day of physical work, then obviously you may be a good fit for homesteading. And finally, question number 8, you get a point for yes. While some folks may be able to just dive into this homesteading way of life, for others, our family included, it's a long road of learning and planning and waiting and pursuing and planning some more. So there you have it. Reach out to me and let me know how you scored. This is what your score tells you. If you got 6 to 8 of them correct, so you got 6 to 8 points, you have what it takes, absolutely, to be a very great homesteader, in my opinion. Buy your chickens, plan your gardens now. If you got a score of 3 to 5, there is definitely true potential in you to run a homestead in your future if you spend some time learning what you need to know now. And if you scored less than 3, I'm sorry, you may be more of a city slicker than a farmer. So there you go. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Thanks for listening, friends. And remember, it's easy to forget how blessed we are to live this life. So enjoy the simple, everyday efforts. It's not easy, but it's a good life.